You think you keep dreaming of them because you haven't let them go. But Jung would say there's something deeper, something terrifying. Because dreams don't choose the person, they choose the moment you're most fragile. You're not missing them. You're missing a part of you once abandoned, and they, in the dream, are just a mirror. A mirror never speaks. It only reflects. The problem is, you've avoided looking into it for too long, and now, the dream won't let you look away. And sometimes, the way home begins with a dream that refuses to leave you alone. You didn't keep dreaming the same dream because your heart refused to let go. You kept dreaming it because something in your unconscious refused to stay silent. Most people think repetition means obsession or unfinished emotion, but Jung saw it as a return, not to the past, but to the place within you that hasn't been understood. When you keep seeing the same face, the same setting, the same sensation behind closed eyes, it's not a glitch. It's a door trying to open again and again until you walk through it. The mind forgets. But the psyche remembers everything. It was too overwhelmed to process, and it encodes that memory into symbols, cycles, and dreams that knock like echoes on the inside of your life. The more you ignore it, the louder it returns, not to haunt you, but to hand you something you weren't ready to hold before. Jung believed that dreams were not random images, but structured communications from the deepest self. He called them guiding messages from the soul. So when the same dream revisits you like a shadow at the edge of night, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your inner world is ready to speak, and what it wants to tell you might change the way you see your story entirely, because the face in your dream isn't there to remind you of them. It's there to remind you of a moment when you abandoned yourself. And every time the dream returns, it brings a little more of you back. Not as memory, but as meaning. Around minute 3, Jung would ask us to stop interpreting and start feeling. Not to analyze what happened in the dream, but to notice how it made you feel the moment you woke up. The ache in your chest, the fog in your thoughts, the name you whispered without sound. That feeling is not fiction, it's what your conscious mind has tried to live without, and the dream is the messenger that keeps breaking through to say, I'm still here. This is not just a pattern, it's a calling, and if you've seen it again, it means your soul still wants to be heard. So next time you close your eyes, and the dream returns, don't rush to explain it. Stay with it, feel it, and ask gently, what part of me is trying to come home? You wake up and the image is still there. Not just a face, but a presence that won't leave your mind. Maybe it's someone familiar. Or maybe it's a stranger who felt hauntingly close. You wonder what the dream is trying to tell you. But Jung would remind you that in dreams, figures are not people. They are parts of the self disguised. And if you listen, what seems like a message from someone else is often a forgotten message from within. Most people think dreams are random, or just old memories replaying at night. But Jung saw them differently. He believed that dreams were the psychic's secret letters to you, written in symbols when logic is asleep. When you dream about someone, your conscious mind thinks it's about that person, but your deeper self is using their image to speak in code. The real question is not, why did I dream about them, but what part of me do they represent? Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that's what dreams try to do. They're pulling your unconscious into the light, showing you where the pain still lives, where the longing still echoes, not so you can return to the past, but so you can reclaim the part of you that got stuck there. If this dream keeps returning, it's because your soul is still waiting for you to pick up that message, and the longer you delay, the louder it gets. And perhaps, the part that wants to be rescued was never someone else, but the energy you forgot to carry inside. You thought you were dreaming of someone else, but Jung would gently suggest otherwise. What if the person in your dream wasn't them at all, but the missing energy within you trying to return? What if that familiar presence was not a memory, but a message from your psyche to remember a part of yourself you've disowned? Jung called it anima and animus, the inner feminine within a man, the inner masculine within a woman, not defined by gender, but by balance, by wholeness. And every time we lose ourselves in life, the unconscious sends us reminders through symbolic figures, sometimes in dreams, sometimes in love, sometimes both. These figures aren't meant to be pursued in real life. They are psychological mirrors. They awaken a forgotten emotional code. They carry traits your conscious self has suppressed: tenderness, protectiveness, fire, softness, assertiveness, surrender. And when these traits are denied in waking life, the soul sends them back wrapped in a person's face. But that person is not the point. They are the vessel, the delivery. The dream is not about rekindling a romance. It's about reintegrating the energy you lost, trying to be who the world told you to be. Jung believed that these figures activate something sacred, something ancient, not because they're the one, but because they bring you back to the one within. Around minute 4, you realize, maybe this person I keep dreaming about isn't someone I need to find. Maybe they're the part of me I need to embrace. And if that's true, then the longing is not to be loved by them, but to be whole within myself. That dream wasn't a prediction, it was a pull toward healing. And that's why it keeps returning when you least expect it. Not to reopen old wounds, but to ask, can you live without hiding from your own fullness any longer? You think you've moved on, that what happened back then doesn't affect you anymore. But the mind has its way of remembering through dreams, and sometimes it brings back not the person or moment, but the feeling you buried with it. Jung believed that we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And this is where it starts. The dream isn't asking you to fix the past. It's revealing the part of you that got frozen there, the emotion you never fully allowed yourself to feel, the anger you swallowed, the sadness you ignored, the voice you silenced in order to survive. And now that voice is returning, not to shame you, but to be heard. What's haunting you is not the memory but your disconnection from it. Jung saw repression as the seed of inner conflict, and in dreams, the psyche tries to resolve what your waking self avoids. When the past reemerges in symbolic form, it's not regression, it's an invitation to reintegration. It's not about reopening wounds, it's about letting your full self breathe again. And the reason the dream feels so intense isn't because it's tragic, but because it's true. The psyche doesn't lie. It just waits for the moment you're finally ready to see what you couldn't hold back then. And if you can hold it now, everything begins to shift. You think ignoring the dream will make it go away? That if you stop thinking about them, they'll stop showing up in your sleep? But Jung knew better. He warned, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. And nowhere is this more true than in the world of dreams. Because what we refuse to feel by day returns tenfold at night, not to torment us, but to complete a story that was never allowed to finish. And when that dream keeps repeating, it's not just coincidence or memory. It's the psyche screaming through symbols, begging for your attention. And the more you dismiss it, the more vivid it becomes. You see their face again, but now it's changed, distorted, or silent. Because the dream is evolving, reshaping itself into something you can't easily ignore. You try to forget, but it keeps pulling you in, not because of them, but because of you. Because the parts of you you've silenced won't stay quiet forever, and when you refuse to meet them consciously, they meet you unconsciously, through images, emotions, and strange moments that feel both real and unreal. Around minute 4, Jung would say, every unresolved feeling eventually demands to be witnessed, and if you won't do it by choice, it will find another way. So this dream isn't an interruption, it's a confrontation, a threshold, a test, and your response determines whether you stay stuck or move forward. When you stop running and finally listen, the dream may not give you easy answers, but it will give you direction. It will show you what still hurts, and where your soul is asking for repair. And that is the first step toward freedom. Not interpretation, but willingness to feel what's buried underneath. You didn't dream of them just to miss them again. Maybe the image was never about that person at all. Maybe the dream is asking you a harder question. What part of you did you lock away just to survive? Because the deeper truth is this. Jung said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And sometimes, that darkness looks like your own emotional walls. Maybe what came in your dream wasn't a message about them, but a message about you. That you've spent so long protecting yourself from being hurt, that even love now feels like danger. Even safety feels unfamiliar. So your psyche sends you a symbol, a person who once opened you, and it asks you to try again, but gently this time. Because the dream isn't demanding you run back to the past. It's asking if you're ready to open without breaking, to feel deeply without drowning, to hold space for your emotions without letting them control you. Because protecting your heart was never the problem. The problem was thinking you had to choose between love and yourself, and maybe this dream was showing you what it could look like if you didn't have to lose either. So ask yourself, what if it's not about finding someone new, but about becoming someone who no longer shuts down when something real begins? And what would it feel like to stay open, even if no one is standing at the door? What if the dream wasn't about someone returning, but about the part of you that never got to say goodbye? The part that froze in the moment things ended, left behind in silence. Jung once wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And this is exactly what dreams are doing. They bring the unconscious to the surface not to torment you, but to liberate you. That face you keep seeing might not be about the person at all, but about the emotion your body couldn't process back then. Grief without closure, love without safety, confusion without answers, and in dreams, your psyche gives you one more chance to complete what was left unfinished. But here's the truth: most people avoid. You can't truly let go of something you never let fully in. If you never allowed yourself to feel it in your waking life, it waits for you in the dream world, and when you're finally ready to face it, not with logic, but with compassion, not with resistance, but with permission, the memory begins to shift, because peace doesn't come from forgetting. Peace comes from finally saying, "This happened. It hurt, it shaped me, but it no longer defines me." And when that happens, the dream begins to fade, not because it's gone, but because it's been heard. You were taught to be strong by staying silent, by acting like it didn't hurt, by laughing when you were breaking inside. And for a while, that worked. It got you through. But Jung warned us, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, and this is where real strength begins. Not in pretending you're untouched, but in finally admitting what did touch you. Not in hiding your needs, but in honoring them. Not in suppressing your emotions, but in learning to sit with them without shame. Because emotional suppression isn't power, it's paralysis. And the dream keeps returning to show you that the person you see is not the lesson. Your reaction to them is your longing, your fear, your guilt, your ache for closure. All of it is a mirror, and only when you stop blaming the reflection can you start transforming what's underneath. You don't need to erase your softness to be powerful. You don't need to disconnect to protect your peace. True strength is not in walls, it's in presence. In being able to stay with yourself in the storm without abandoning who you are. And maybe that's what the dream has been trying to teach you all along. That surviving is not the same as healing. And strength isn't numbness. It's the courage to feel and still stand. Sometimes a dream feels too vivid to ignore, and the same person keeps returning as if the dream is clinging to them, but maybe it's not about the person at all. Maybe your unconscious is using their image to highlight something unresolved, something that once felt safe or familiar or deeply personal. Carl Jung believed that dreams are the language of the soul, not literal stories, but symbolic messages asking to be understood. So what if this recurring dream isn't a sign to reach out or rekindle something lost, but an invitation to turn inward to witness a feeling, a truth, or a memory you've tucked away? What if seeing them in your dream is your psyche's way of saying there's more to this feeling than you? Realize maybe you're not being haunted, maybe you're being invited to become conscious, to make sense of what part of your own experience they represent, not because of who they are, but because of what they awaken in you. And perhaps the dream ends, not when they stop appearing, but when you start truly seeing what's been left in the dark all along.